Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday night. It's going to be a wonderful night because it's always Wednesday, because it's not Thursday and it's not Tuesday. So, welcome to you. Glad you came to visit with me. We're going to talk, well, we're going to talk a little bit about Zechariah, but I think I needed to give you some information and then I got carried away, kind of like some of my friends who write me long notes. I believe that Zechariah 12 to 14 speaks of our future, but the future is now. And I want you to remind you of the high point from chapter 12. For that, we need to look at Zechariah 12, and we need to look at the 10th verse, where it says, I will pour out upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and of supplication. They will look towards me because of those who have been stabbed. They have stabbed, and they will mourn over him as one mourns over their only child, and be embittered over him like the embitterment over a deceased friend. You know, Hebrew is not English, and English is certainly not Hebrew. There are some words that have special meaning that we're going to talk about, but I want to have you understand that we obviously know me represents God, and they have stabbed. Well, they're mourning over one mourns over their only child. Only the word here is not for a singular child, but it is the concept of multiple as well as single. So we're not sure what he's really saying. But the understanding I have to give you tonight is the fact that we're not talking about Jesus Christ. We're not talking about the beginnings of what becomes a allegory that carries through. But I do want to say, all who have taught this 12th chapter and this verse have understood as looking at the battle of Gog and Magog. But was this story about a singular battle or war? Or war? Now, if we look closely at Ezekiel 38 and 39, we see that they're not describing the same events. Two separate events in Ezekiel. And now here in 12 to 14, we're looking at a third section. The rabbis understand that the wars of Gog and Magog are not a singular event, but three events. And when we talk about a war, we're not talking about simply a battle. We're talking about something over a period of time. Now, in Hebrew, Gog and Magog can actually be looked at as numbers. And so sometimes if you take the words apart, what you end up with is something quite different. So let's look at gematria for the word Gog. It's Gimel, Vav, Gimel. 3 plus 6 plus 3, total 12. Then Vav is a singular letter. That's a 6. And again, Magog is 40, Gimel is 4, or Gimel is 3, and Gimel is 3. Now, when you add them all up, you end up with 40. That's the sum of the nations that are found in Genesis chapter 10. So when they talk about the battles of Gog and Magog, they're really talking about, well, they're talking about a world coming against Israel. That's the focus of what's going on. Now, well, the three events, the three stories that make up the War of Gog and Magog are really going to cover several years, almost like the 100 Years' War, which was fought between France and England back in 1300s and 1400s. We have been a part of several wars, like the Revolutionary or the Civil War or the World War I or World War II, to name a few. What I find interesting is that the Jewish scholars have pictured World War I and II as being two parts of the Battle of Gog and Magog, leaving only a third part, which is the part that we're reading about here in Zechariah. I believe we're not in the midst of this third leg. Well, actually, we are. Actually, the battle is going to go on for quite a while, but the end of it, according to the Vilna Gaon, will be about, well, it'll take 12 minutes. Now, 12 minutes doesn't sound unreasonable today, but the Vilna Gaon lived 300 years ago, when a prediction like that would have been, well, it'd just been laughable. But today, I believe the third leg really began on October 7th, 2023, with the invasion of Israel by Hamas, with the help of the Iranians and the Houthis and the Hezbollah. I also need to remind you that the thoughts regarding the prophet Daniel, when he wrote about the 70 weeks. And I, again, earlier taught the 7 weeks story, but it wasn't about 7 weeks of days or years. It was 70 Jubilee cycles of 350 years. In other words, it would go from the day that Joshua led the people of Israel into the promised land in 1406 BC and would end October 7th, 2023. Now, as we go through this, I want you to, well, let's start this way. While many of the world leaders were cheering on President Trump and his ability to stop wars between neighbors, the streets of Europe were filled with anti-Zionists protesting Israel's heavy-handedness. Now, this is while they're talking about peace. Now, this war isn't, in my thinking, is not over. In fact, far from it, because the Middle East is, well, there's a great deal of tensions between Turkey and Israel. Now, the agreement between Israel and Hamas was signed in Egypt by the leaders of Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and the United States. An odd group. Egypt has, for the last few years, has placed thousands of troops on the southern border of Gaza, but they refuse to help Israel in smashing Hamas. Qatar, well, that's where the Israelis began to throw a bomb into one of the hotel rooms and killed the wrong people. The third group was Turkey. Now, according to many international writers, the relationship between Turkey and Israel has entered its most perilous phase in decades, with both nations now openly arguing or acknowledging the possibility of a military confrontation. What began as diplomatic tensions over Gaza has evolved into a broader strategic competition that threatens to redraw the boundary lines in the Middle East. Recent statements from the Turkish and Israeli officials reveal that the relationship between the two states, well, they're at their lowest point in some 15 years. And that's with the specter of conflict over what's going on in Syria. Oh, by the way, did I tell you the list of nations will include in the wars with Israel? Is Ezekiel 38:6 talks about the fact that Gomer, Germany, and Togomar, Turkey, will be involved, as well as their cohorts. And I'm not sure who their cohorts could be, but they probably are the Muslims. Now, from humble beginnings, President Erdogan has grown into a political giant, leading Turkey for some 22 years. And he's been replacing his countrymen, the leaders, with friends, and taking and putting, well, his enemies in jail. Now, he's been criticized for increasing the repression on his people over the last few years. Now, recently, the government arrested and jailed his major rivals again. But I want to go to another topic first, and I'll come back. In physics, time is not merely a construct, but it's not an absolute either. Albert Einstein showed that time is relevant. It flows differently depending on gravity and on speed. It's woven together with the space into a four-dimensional fabric, according to science. The fabric's called space-time. So why time has measurable reality, we just can't calculate its effects. It flows, and even its order depends on the observer's frame of reference. The word that means past or present or future, well, they're universal, but really they're not rational. In philosophy, many of the philosophers call time a mental construct, a way the human mind orders change. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher. He's born in Germany, and he considered one of the central thinkers on the Age of Enlightenment. His compromise, or his comprehensive and systematic works in epistemology and metaphysics and ethics and aesthetics have made him one of the most influential and highly discussed figures in modern Western philosophy. In his doctrine about transcendental idealism, Kant argued that space and time were just mere forms of intuition that structure all experiences, and that the objects of experience, well, they're just mere appearances. Now, in Jewish mystical thought, time is both real and it's also created. It's called a vessel, a kli. It's a divine revelation. Time begins with creation because it starts out in the beginning, Bereshit. That's at the first moment. Before that, well, before that, there is no before that. Yet the divine realm beyond creation, Ein Sof, there is no time at all. Past, present, and future are unified. The Zohar calls this the secret of the cycles. Time as a spiritual, not a line. It's a moment that reflects early ones, but on the higher turn of a spiral. It's like an auger. It's like a drill in the sense that it's going up. Now, from this angle, time is a construct within creation designed to allow process, growth, and tikkun. You see, the world is in need of repair. It's how the infinite one expresses change in a finite world. Time is a construct within creation, but not within divine reality. To understand whether time is a construct, we must see how the Kabbalists understood its purpose, why God made time at all. In Kabbalah, time is a vessel of revelation. In the realm of Ein Sof, which is his highest name possible, the world of Atzilut, all worlds, the infinite one, there is no time, there's no change, there's no before, there's no after. Everything simply is. But if the infinite one cannot be perceived by finite beings, the very act of creation introduces, well, it gives us a container, a system of limitations called Zaman, which is time, and Makom, which is space. Time is how divine light unfolds step by step. It's like light passing through the colored glass. Each moment reflects the infinite in a slightly different way, so creation can receive it gradually. Now, in Kabbalah, time is, again, cyclical. It's not linear. And it's not a flat circle, it spirals. And it means history repeats itself, but at a higher octave each time. In Kabbalah, they see time from a very spiritual perspective. A week is 7 days, but that 7 days also corresponds to the 7 lower Sephirot. The 12 months of a year correspond to the 12 tribes, to the 12 constellations that occupy our skies, to the 12 channels of divine energy. There are cosmic cycles called Shmitot. And in correspondence to vast epochs of time, creation rises and falls. I will talk more about Shmatot, not tonight, but later when we get into the idea of what comes after this world. Now, it corresponds to the vast understanding of rising and falling. Each Shabbat, each festival, each millennium, well, they repeat in an earlier energy, but with new cycles, it elevates itself. You and I don't feel it because we aren't living in a Jewish world. We watch the same calendars. Not really. Our calendar is quite different than theirs. Now, the Shmatot are vast cycles of cosmic time, not limited by days and weeks and years. And it's described in another book called Sefer HaTuman, and later expanded by the Arizal and men like the Ramak. Just as the Torah commands that every seventh year is a Shemitah, Shemitah being a cycle year or a sabbatical year for the land, so too creation itself moves through seven great cosmic cycles, each lasting 7,000 years. Now you find this out by going to Sanhedrin 97a in the Talmud. 6,000 years is the time of action. It's about history and it's about rectification. The 7,000th year is called the Great Shabbat. That's the rest when the world roots returns to its roots. Now, after that, a new creation begins, another Shemitah with the new spiritual laws and new physics. That's what we will go into after this one ends. Now, each Shemitah, well, it's a 1 day in a higher divine week. Actually, the Shabbat is a, there are several opinions as to which cycle we're in. Now, according to the Arizal, we're in the sixth cycle, which corresponds to the Sephirah of Yesod, the idea of secrets, the phase of connection, completion, and preparation for a revelation that's about to come. So even time itself is part of a great metacycle of creations and renewals. Why does time exist at all? Because without time, there can be no tikkun, no repair. There would have been an end to Adam and Eve, and that would have been it. In timelessness, everything simply is. In time, we can move from what is to what ought to be. Time gives creation the opportunity to become conscious, to choose, and to elevate what was broken. Now, when the tikkun is complete, time will fold back into an eternity. Again, the word fold back is something I'm going to have to explain later, as it was before creation. So everything returns in some sense. Now, this is what the prophet Isaiah hinted at when he said, "The former things shall not be remembered, nor come to mind. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth." That's in Isaiah 65:17. Now, in Zeratic time or terms, that's the moment when time simply dissolves. Eternity, Netzach, in Kabbalah means the state beyond time, where all moments exist. There is a place where that is now. There is nothing God doesn't foresee. He sees all the moments, past, present, and future, equally. Now, from that perspective, your birth, all the choices you've made in this life, and the end of the world are seen by the Creator all simultaneously. Not only yours, but all of us. Creation unfolds in sequence only from our vantage point. That's within the construct of time. Now, this week on a Jewish calendar, they are studying the Parsha called Noach. I want to show you how God sees time. One of the great mysteries of biblical time, which the sages and the mystics understood not merely as an arithmetic problem, but as a spiritual dimensionality. I want us to look carefully at Noah's life through both the literal, which we call Peshat, or they call Peshat, and the Sod, the mystical lens. Okay, here's an unreconcilable math problem. Genesis 7:6 says, Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were upon the earth. 9:28 and 29 say, when Noah lived after the flood 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years and he died. But what about the year Noah and his family and the animals lived on the ark? Shouldn't his life have been 951? Now, this isn't a scribal mistake. The sages, and later other Kabbalists understood that the missing year reveals something profound about divine time versus human time. The flood year is treated differently in the Torah because it was, in essence, a year outside of time. A reset of creation, remember. What happened to the earth? The earth was flooded. Also, remember back into Genesis. How did our book of Genesis start? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then what happened? It was dark. Waters covered the earth. So we're looking at a second creation story. So during the year of the flood, the entire world returned to the state of tohu vabohu, which is chaos and formlessness, mirroring the primordial pre-creation state. In that cosmic sense, time was simply suspended. Now, Noah's year in the ark was not part of an ordinary flow of mortal years because the created order, day, night, and seasons, they were all disrupted. Rashi, when talking about Genesis 8:14, notes that the flood altered even the calendar cycles. So when the Torah says Noah lived 950 years, it is counting only the years within the restored covenantal order of creation, not the timeless year of destruction and rebirth. To the Kabbalists, time folds during judgment. That year, or period of years, corresponds to a zimzum, or withdrawal of the ordinary light of the world. The flood in this case and the wars of Gog and Magog are part of this cosmic constriction. The world re-entered the womb of chaos only to be born again purified. Now we know that after the conclusion of that battle, creation will go through a change in time. It will start again renewed. Now in the Zohar, in the first book, 67b, the flood year is compared to a year of sleep or concealment. Time passes in concealment. It's not alive time, it's folded time. It's the present in a potential, but not in the actual manifestation of something that's sequential. Now, therefore, Noah's 950 years represent his years of active participation in creation, while the one lost year corresponds to the year of divine concealment, when the world was under the waters and existence was suspended. Now, from Noah's event, we know that time is not absolute, at least not to God. It is not the simple counting of or rotation of the sun and the moon. It's the flow of divine vitality through creation. When the flow is interrupted, as it was during the flood, time itself ceases to function as time. Thus, in God's view, time exists only when the world receives his light. When the connection is broken, time collapses. Or more precisely, it pauses. Noah therefore lived through the timeless interval, much as Israel later would experience the suspension of the natural order when they were at Sinai, or as the prophets experienced their timelessness when they were experiencing their visions. The number 50 in Kabbalah represents the 50th gate of understanding, called Binah, the transcendent boundary of human comprehension. So thus, 950, Noah's full measure of earthly life, short of 1 year that touches the 50th gate. The threshold is of eternity. In this case, there's a missing year, and it belongs to that gate. Beyond counting, beyond the world of seven, and beyond any natural order. So why was the flood year not counted? God was resetting creation. And during that year of the flood, the entire world returned to a state of tohu vabohu, mirroring the primordial creation we found in Genesis 1-2. In that cosmic sense, time itself was suspended. Thus, Noah's year in the ark was not part of the ordinary flow of mortal years, because the created order, the day-night seasons, they were disrupted. Rashi would go on to tell us that the calendar, well, it was altered also. So when Torah says Noah lived 950 years, it's counting only the years within the restored covenantal order of creation, not the year of timeless destruction and rebirth. In Kabbalistic language, that year corresponds to Zimzum, the withdrawal of divine light from the world. The flow was in an act of cosmic constriction. The world re-entered the womb of chaos to be reformed and purified. Now, in the Zohar, again, in the first book, in 67b, the flood year is compared to, well, hold on a second. Okay. The flood year is compared to a year of sleep or concealment. Time that passes in concealment is not alive time. It's folded, present into potential, but not in a manifest sequence. Noah's 950 years represents his years of active participation. The one lost is divine concealment. Now, this teaches us that time is not absolute. It is not the simple counting of rotations of the sun and the moon. It's about divine vitality. In God's view, time exists only when the world receives his light. When the connection is broken, time simply collapses. All the more precise, it actually just simply pauses. But Noah, therefore, lived through a timeless interval, much like Israel later would experience the suspension of the natural order when they were at Mount Sinai, or when the prophets, well, that timelessness. Again, understand the year that he was in that ark is outside of time. It connects to other moments in scripture when time folds or pauses, like in the case of Joshua causing the sun to linger in the sky, or Hezekiah's shadow turning back, or the sun standing still. And what that reveals is that God edits time for his own purpose. Now, last week, the world was praising the peace agreement between Israel and Hamas. Did the third war of Gog and Magog end? Or are we in a lull? Next time, I'll begin to work on chapter 13 for you and begin to give you some more ideas. Again, Zechariah is not the same book I read when I was a kid or younger, or even when I retired. It's a new book with new ideas. I hope you stay with me for next week and become part of that process. I'm done for tonight. Anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay.
The pause of time
Which
with
one?
Noah in the ark,
Okay.
it made me think of how I do with a 2 hour movie that I record on my DVR. I can zoom past the commercials and make a 2 hour movie only an hour and however many minutes.
Most likely 20.
Yeah, yeah, hard telling. I know I don't want commercials, but it's still it's still not a great comparison, but it was a way that I could think of it in my time zone.
I haven't even talked with you about cosmic time yet. That'll be the last lesson. Cosmic time is something that we don't, as a Christian, we assume that after the war of Gog and Magog, we're going to go through 1,000 years, and after that, we're not done. This cycle will continue if the Arizal is correct. And many other rabbis say we are only in the cycle of Netzach, the cycle of Apophis, that next will follow this period of prophets, and we will move into Hod. So there's more to teach you, more to help you understand how the world is working, because God doesn't work the world the way we think he does. If he did, we'd have been over with this a long time ago, but it's not true. It just goes on. Rod, you were going to say something. Yeah. You forgot to put your headset on or something. Can't hear you.
It would help to turn the microphone on.
Oh, that would help too.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, once again, an excellent class. And I like the fact that you're reviving Zechariah with new evidence and new information, and it just makes it come alive again. It's really good. I really appreciate that.
Well,
A
we're going to
lot
go
of
back
people
to
are quoting from Zechariah right now anyway.
no, but Zechariah, we haven't even gone back to put it back to the case of Adam and Eve.
Right.
I'm going to take it all the way back there for the next 2 chapters.
Wow.
So it'll be quite different. That's just to keep Nathaniel from talking too much. He just,
Yeah, he does gab on
yeah,
even through the class.
yeah. So anyway,
I do have a question on with the flood with the year 1656. So if you saw the text on the gematria of both Torah, being 611 and Tehillim being 1045, both adding up to 1656, what your thoughts are on why Torah and Tehillim would equal the year of the flood? I mean, I was kind of puzzled by that. I mean, I wasn't surprised per se, but just seems to be something there that why would those two,
well, if
you know,
you'd have been with us Sunday, Mary could explain this to you because we studied Genesis 1:1 and pi. You see, pi is the number that starts Genesis. I'll send you my 10 pages of notes and let you read through them, and you find out all the numbers, how they all fit together, because it's fascinating
Oh
how
boy, you're going to give Nathaniel more numbers.
he needs them. I mean, he's only given me 12 pages of numbers and words. I want him to talk to me and walk me through it because after a while it's mind-boggling. So Mary can
Truly.
attest to the fact that I did okay with pi. Thank you,
Well,
Mary,
good.
for
We'll have to go back and read it.
yeah. I will. I'm sure I sent it to you. I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not. I'll check, but I'm sure you did.
Okay. It's fascinating, and there's so much. The whole book of the Bible is nothing but a math problem.
It is. It
All
really is.
all everything is about numbers, and
It is.
I
it's
can't
interesting
imagine.
that it's interesting that computer coding, it all kind of meshes with that. And then also the movie Matrix also kind of, seems to be like a offshoot of that concept. But yeah, it's interesting that, I mean, to me, in the Christian world, that seems to be more like, superstition or something. I mean, but I mean, to me, it's, points that, there's a fundamental, process, divine process and structure and everything, far beyond what often we, realize.
Yeah. Well, and again, God made this thing so that it was on multiple levels. So you can read the simple stories,
Mhm.
or you can go after the meat. And for recently, I've been digging for the meat, and it's not easy. I mean, you know that. You've gone through digging through the book. And again, every Sunday when I go through, I'm trying to find something new. Some of these people have been with me for a couple weeks, more like 25 years, but when you keep trying to come up with something new, you either do a song and dance, juggle balls, or you find something deeper and richer in the text. And lately, the Lord's been giving me good, rich literature. So I've been spending a lot of time digging through it. But we're going through that. The stuff I shared on tonight on Noah is only part of what I'm going to share on Sunday morning. Sunday morning is going to be full of the same kind of thing, the understandings. So it's kind of crazy. So anybody else? Peggy left the room. So, oh no, she just bent over.
Hey,
Never
Steve,
mind. Yes, I am. Go
um,
for it.
if the Lord was trying to make a total reset with the
Yes.
flood,
Yes.
why did he allow Og to come and stick around? I mean, he was getting rid of the evil and the giants and the sacrificing and the mixing of DNAs and all that stuff. Have you run into a reason for that?
Yes.
Do you
Do you
want to
see me smirking
share?
at you?
Do you want to share?
Not now.
Rats.
I just like to smirk. I got one over on you. So now if
Just
I
don't
was,
add more numbers. Oh,
that's what it
give
takes.
only give that to Nathaniel, okay?
All right. Nathaniel can take it. The rest of you people can't. Okay, I can get
We're
it.
wimps.
Yes, you are.
Not all of us. I kind of like numbers. Not on the par with Nathaniel.
Yeah. In
And
fact,
not all on the par with.
I thought you guys were the ones that asked me to do some more number stuff.
Yeah, I probably did.
Yeah, somebody did because I wrote it in my notes and I had it there for some reason. But anyway,
Could have been Donna too. Donna likes numbers.
no, she doesn't ask for that because I beat her up. Tell her don't just shut up and sit there. So, but anyway, anybody good thoughts?
It just makes it hard to hold a conversation with people that want to stay on the simple level.
Anymore? I think that's probably some of the reasons why some of us have fallen away, as they would say. We got to go deeper. And I think that's important.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
and I wondered why you called it meta something or other when meta means dead or death.
Metaphysical?
It was a different word I can't see in the dark.
No
I made
offense, but it's
notes
your
on it,
dark
but
right now.
yeah,
I don't see you. All right. Well, you can save it for Sunday and then we'll talk about it then.
yeah, because
But-
then there will be daylight.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Although it's coming later and later because I'm finding myself getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I don't see the sun for another hour down
Yeah.
here. So anyway, life is good. I appreciate you guys all coming to visit with me. Again, like I say, next week we'll go back to chapter 13, I believe.
we appreciate the explosion in the head with all these
It-
numbers. Oh, I love it, but it really stretches me.
It stretches
But I probably
everybody.
need that to take my mind off of
Everything
other
else.
things in my life.
That's right. Life is good. I will see you guys later. Thank you for coming to visit with me next week. Zechariah 13. Shalom, y'all.
Thank you.
Have a great day.